We've got Dee Wallace. Henry Thomas. Robert McNaughton. And Casey Motel.
And a lot of water.
I don't think we drink that much. I'd be impressed.
Oh, they can drink that much, just not water.
Okay, first of all, does anybody have any questions right off the bat? No?
What?
I know. All right, we got one. Rob, right over here.
Hi, my name's Herb. This question for Ms. Wallace. I know you've appeared on Burger Shoe a couple of times. What was it like working with Angela Lansbury?
Yes.
Thank you, Henry. What a great question. Actually did 5 of them.
Yeah.
Those were back in the days when if a studio loved you, they had you back every single year to do their show. Now you do a show once in your history, you can't ever go back, usually. It was phenomenal. She was so kind. Would invite me in to have lunch with her in her trailer. I did, I think, a couple of 2 or 3 of the shows with my husband, Christopher Stone. So, yeah, it was a beautiful experience of my youth. Thank you for asking.
And she's still kicking. Yeah, she just did a play on Broadway, like a little brother. Yeah.
Don't you be killing us off.
This question is for all of you. I was wondering if you would share a moment when you realized that this movie E.T. that you were all a part of was going to become as big a success as it was. Whether it be while filming or perhaps shortly afterwards before you saw the box office numbers.
Well, I think that's an excellent question for Casey.
Really?
This is also the first panel that we've done with Casey, and this is the first time I've seen Casey since we filmed together.
Wow.
So you do all the talking.
Yeah. This is now about me. This is how we jump you in the game.
You know, when we were filming it, it was hard to say that we had any idea what was going to happen next. I mean, it became such a phenomenon with lines around the block for hours and you know, shattering records, and you know, the movie came together so beautifully. But I would probably say, for me, the answer to that question would be after it came out and the reaction to it. I don't think when we were filming it we could have any idea what it turned into.
I don't think when you're a creative person and you're doing a film, you even think about that, quite honestly. You just go in to do your best job and be as truthful as you can, and then if it hits, then you celebrate.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the one thing that I've learned over the years of being in the business is that every job you're on, everybody always says, like, wow, the dailies look great. Man, the rushes from yesterday was amazing. This film is going to be amazing. And, you know, you kind of say, yeah, it was great. And you do it, and you know, 9 times out of 10,
Sometimes all
it
those
doesn't work.
great rushes turn out to be a big piece of poop.
It's true. More often than not.
I did mostly theater, and every play I did was going to Broadway. And I never went to Broadway, so it didn't matter if it was in New Mexico or where it was. Every play I did was going to be like, oh, we might be going to Broadway.
Because we like to dream, and we like to think that what we're working on is the most important thing that could ever be done. And you know, you kind of need that sometimes to get through the long hours and the bad weather or whatever it is. And the waiting. Yeah, but really you don't know. It's all speculative. I mean, you guys decide that, right? And And it's really rare that we have something that, like E.T., that's been around for years and still finds a new audience because fans say, oh, well, I'm going to show my kids this film or whatever. It's a really interesting and a very rare
Phenomenon.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Another question out here? Right. Okay.
Did you guys get any of the marketing cut of all the things made from the movie?
Funny, we were just discussing that.
I believe, the only one that got merchandising in my contract.
Well, no, well, they had, we got 1% of the gains from the merchandising.
Oh, you did?
Split up between the first 5 cast members. So that's how it worked. We got a 1/5 of a percentage point.
Have you ever seen anything?
Maybe in the 80s, but
Yeah,
I don't think. No, I mean that was a one and done thing. Like all this new merchandising, I don't know where that
You should
falls.
check that out, guys.
Well, here's the thing.
Casey,
Oh, yeah,
get on it.
Here's the thing.
Robert's done some research.
I'm going to speak on this. Well, I don't know legally from a legal standpoint, but I know that Jerry
Okay.
West is the NBA logo. Jerry West is the player when you see the NBA logo, and he's the NBA logo. And at some point, he sued the NBA for the rights to his image. It's his body that's the logo from everything on every NBA merchandise is Jerry West. So Henry can't say this, but I'm going to say it. Is
The shadow?
the shadow of the bicycle with Henry's logo on it, and I don't feel he's been fairly compensated for that in any sense of the word.
But see,
But he has no choice. You can't sue people.
Just to play the devil's advocate, the lawyers would say, I don't know, this figure, he's wearing a cape and a hood. I mean, really, it could be anybody.
But the Jerry West precedent is, to me, the one
Yeah.
that's important.
And if
because-
you got your answer, we all got.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying if what's right is right. I just was on eBay the other day and I was looking at, case windows for PCs because I'm trying to put a PC together. And Henry's picture comes up as something you can put as a sticker on your MacBook. And it's clearly Henry. It's clearly Henry, and somebody's selling this. And somebody else is getting money from the trademarked image of that. He's not. Okay, so that's wrong.
Welcome
That's
to being
wrong.
an actor.
Yeah.
You mean they're using me? For money?
You know what? And I
There
just think
was
it's
somebody else. Who else got a
Hi there, my name is Rowena. Thank you so much for coming. It's exciting to see you all together.
Thank you.
And Henry and Robert, what was it like as children being in this cast with adults? How was that relationship? I know it's been so long ago since it happened, but...
What adults? Wait, are you talking Steven?
You mean
D?
You mean
Come on,
D1?
I was really the
Frank
only
Marshall?
adult till the very end.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I had adults that were like very creative, that were very like that were the best possible adults to work with. Almost didn't seem like adults. And like Peter Coyote, for example, he would show me card tricks while we were in between scenes. He would show me the best card tricks ever. D was like
I never showed you.
no, you never. D was just amazing. She was just like so
Motherly.
wonderful. No, not motherly. No. But just like the reason the movie works is because you're one of us. You're in on the secret.
And
of ET.
actually, it really was like that on set. Everybody just, you have to understand, you know, from your perspective, kids, when you see them in a film, are like most kids in your lives, but not so on a set. These guys were seasoned professionals when I worked with them. They were like working with other adults. You know,
Drew had
I
done
would
4 films.
sometimes, what?
Yeah.
Drew had done 4 films, as she pointed out to Henry.
On our first meeting. How many movies have you done? I said, I've been in 1 movie. She goes, oh, poor thing, I've done 4.
That was true. Yeah. She came up to me the first day on the set, and I was sitting in a high director's chair, and she came up and looked at me and she said, "Hi, I'm going to sit on your lap now." And I said, "Well, come on up, honey." You know, she was a director even back then.
The first time I met Drew, I was on just outside the soundstage, and I was introduced to her by her mom, and her mom said, "Drew, this is Casey. Casey, this is Drew," and we shook hands, and she turned sweetly to her mom and she said, "Oh, Mommy, I think I love him." So I'm 13 and feeling very big brotherish, going, okay, I'm gonna have a good time on this shoot, this sweet little girl, we're gonna be special friends. And a couple minutes later, she's introduced to one of the other kids in the movie, and she turned to her mom and she said, "Oh, Mommy, I think I love him." She had me wrapped and I had no idea. She took all of us right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate.
Not me.
We got a question right here in front, Hellfire Club.
Hi everyone. What was your favorite line to say in the movie?
I don't think we've ever been asked that. You guys go, I have to think. Probably he hates Mexico.
Yeah.
The way it all happened was, that wasn't in the original script. And when we did the dinner table scene, I felt the tears coming up, and as Mary, I thought, oh, I don't want to let my kids see me cry. So I got up and left, which I was not supposed to do. And Stephen comes over after we called cut, and he said, "Why did you get up and leave the tape?" And I explained to him what was happening, and in that minute, he called the crew in and said, "You've got a half hour, build me a kitchen wall with a sink and running water so he could take me over there and then take Henry over there." You don't remember that?
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And bring me around in that big close-up where I said he hates Mexico.
That line is still relevant today.
Yes.
Thank you.
For me, well, there's a line that I have that wasn't even, it was a voiceover where we're walking down the driveway and we're just discussing what we're going to do with ET, and I say, "How do you explain school to a higher intelligence?" And Melissa Matheson, who wrote the script, had such an elegant, concise way of writing, like he hates Mexico, or you know, like
She was amazing.
She was there on the set every day.
She just knew us.
She was there on that set every day, but she could get to the point. She could get to the point of something. And we were just discussing Black Stallion.
In a kid way.
In a kid way.
Kid way.
She wrote the script for Black Stallion, and it has very few lines. Kelly Reno doesn't talk the whole first half of the movie, basically. And then, and then there's very little dialogue in that movie, but the dialogue that is there is very to the point. It's good. She's missed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and a lot of people ask about sequels and things like that. I don't think you can do it without Melissa Matheson's
Unless
voice.
you have something
Yeah.
in a trunk somewhere.
Yeah.
That's that they discover. and we can't really do
Look,
ET
I'm
justice.
old, the dog's dead, and the kids are grown.
Grown?
You know?
I do have a question about that one, about the table scene, because I heard that there's an unscripted word or insult that is used. Penis breath.
That was very scripted.
Yeah, that wasn't a script.
Yeah, but
My reaction was.
No, your reaction wasn't.
the reaction wasn't. And Dee's reaction is great. But the line came about because Melissa Matheson was in the supermarket and she heard these two brothers having an argument, and one of the brothers called the other one a penis breath. And so she told Steven, and he said, well, we have to put that in the script.
Obviously, the market was in Los Angeles. You can hear that here.
Any questions? Okay. We got one right up front.
What's your favorite food?
Favorite food?
Yes.
That's a great question.
Fish. Fish for me. Salmon.
Enchiladas, rancheras.
He grew up in San Antonio. I gotta qualify that. Of course it is.
Like, I grew up in Kansas. I never had a piece of fresh fish until I moved to New York. All we knew in Kansas were fish sticks. That's all I had, fish sticks. Go ahead.
What's your favorite food?
Breadsticks, yeah.
Breadsticks.
Good choice.
Now that you mention it, that's not my favorite food.
I don't. Well, okay, so now you get to my age and you start to think about how you have to eat different things to not, to be healthy. And so, then you quit things and you don't realize what your favorite things are until you quit them. So it's pizza.
All right, this is for Robert. The scene where Elliot tells Mike he's alive and Mike jumps and he bumps his head, was that actually scripted? Or did you do that? Was it an accident?
No, that was scripted, and I'm really proud of that. So thank you for bringing it up. Because I actually did mime. I actually did actual acting work in that scene. Because there was no, this just was nothing up to the top of the soundstage. So Steven said, I want you to jump up and bump your head, in this scene. And I'm like, well, on what? So then he said, I want you to mime it. And I'm like, I took mime. I took theater classes in mime. So that's one of the things where, it's rare as an actor where you can actually say, I actually did work that I studied and trained for and pulled it off.
But do you remember, well, you don't remember because you had the environmental suit on, but they had a big tube up there in the top that was spitting out like steam.
Yes.
But it was also spitting out chips of dry ice because that's what was causing all the steam, and they were coming out. And so when we were doing that scene, those pieces of dry ice kept hitting my skin. Yes! And we did like 4 takes of it.
Oh my God. And you were like, yes.
So much cooler than a mime.
But like half the movie, we were breathing in chemical smoke, not only just dry ice, but like they used to have chemical smoke that they would pump with these like hand pumps, and they pump it around the set because it creates that diffuse, beautiful look that you associate with E.T., with all of Steven's movies, and certainly many after that have emulated his. But it creates like a diffuse film grain look. So they pump in all the smoke, and then they wait for the smoke to dissipate. But meanwhile, it's this like heavy chemical smoke, and you're like, yeah, it might be toxic.
Wait, I have to correct you. Because the year that I did The Howling, which was before E.T., The year I did The Howling, they passed a rule that all smoke that was used on the set had to be water-based.
Really?
Yeah, so that was water-based smoke that we
But it
used
had
on
that
the
oily
TV.
kind of
But there
feel
was
to
still, that was only for inside. When they were outside, they were using, they were still
Well,
burning
that was
tires
illegal
and
then.
wafers.
That was illegal.
So wait,
Alrighty
So
then.
when you file the lawsuit.
Statute
for the-
of limitations is too
We're also
far
doing
on.
that, we're also doing that.
first they took our merchandising, then they tried to kill us? Oh, this isn't sounding so good anymore.
It's only a few more years until we can all sue for emphysema.
First of all, welcome to Skies Up Care.
Thank you.
Thank you also for being so much part of my childhood with such a remarkable film. My question is, was there ever a moment where you were just completely stuck, wondering how you were going to act a scene out, and Spielberg just dragged it out of you emotionally?
No.
No. Not at all.
Go ahead.
I think Casey should speak on this matter.
You know, one of my memories was of Steven as a director. And, you know, a lot of people ask me about working with Spielberg because they can say, you know, you've been in all of these things or all these movies, but the question is always what made Spielberg unique. And I remember we were doing a kitchen scene, ordering pizza and playing Dungeons and Dragons. And there was one take where he said, you guys are just exhausted. It's been a long day. You don't want to be here. Trudge through the lines, low energy, just do this. And then a couple takes later, it was, I want you guys so hopped up on Coca-Cola that you can barely remember the lines. I don't even care what you say. I just want it in turbo speed. And there were so many different takes of so many different energies that when they got to the editing, which kind of goes back to some questions earlier about do you know when you're filming it if it's going to be great, there's so many parts afterwards with directorial choices and editing and end up making it look a certain way. I just remember Steven had so many emotional options in every scene that when they edit it together and they, you know, we all feel like you got taken up and you crash down and you go up and then you're hopeful, and he really emotionally was able to get us to do a lot of different things where in the editing process, he could build probably 4 or 5 different movies, emotional movies, that either focused on, you know, the family aspect, the Dungeons and Dragons aspect, the friendship aspect, the single parent aspect, the sibling connection aspect. I mean, he made sure he had all the footage through us, and it was very easy as an actor to work with him. It didn't ever feel like effort, and he always got that out of us, so I never felt stuck. I just felt like I trusted him and went along with everything he offered us.
Yeah, I have to tell you from an adult point of view, it was magical watching Steven work with the kids because he really kind of became a kid. He would play games with them and he got down on their level, and from my perspective, just that it was very magical to watch. Do you recollect it the same way? Was my perspective.
It was fun. I remember it being so much fun with all of us when all of like those scenes, especially in the first act, when we're all at the house, and there's a lot of interaction between the kids. It was fun in those moments because we were really creating stuff. We were doing things that weren't on the page. And it was becoming alive, and it was, you know, and that's really what you're trying to do in this whole thing, you know, is you're trying to bring those moments to life. But like KC said, especially in the days of film, like when you're actually shooting on film, directors got options. Because they're not there really to be on set. They're there to get in the editing room and put the story together, right? So a lot of these guys, including Steven, although he really loved being on set, really where they do their work is is editing, and working with the editor. And they're also under pressure from the studio to bring forth something that the studio wants to put out. So they have to deal with corporate as well.
Which the studio doesn't usually know.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they really don't know what they want to put out, but they just want something successful.
Right. But the directors, especially back then, they shot several different movies within that movie, so that they could cut it a certain way if the studio said, no, we don't really like the storyline with these guys. Because you can't go back and, now you can much more easily and a lot of these less expensively, but at the time, it would be not only rebuilding the sets or refining the same locations, and then those guys are going to come at you with much more, higher prices for the locations again, because they know you need it. It's a money pit, and so they covered their bases. So we shot several different films within that film.
Yeah, I saw a version that was sort of without music, and when we were doing the looping, where you're replacing dialogue that somehow didn't get recorded or was muffled or something, and so I saw a version without music, and I think it was a black and white, like a rough cut, while I was doing the looping. It was a very different movie. It was much more intimate and much more, I didn't see all the scenes in the movie. I didn't see the entire movie with no music, but I saw a lot of the scenes with Henry and E.T., and that, maybe different cuts that they didn't actually use in the final finished product. And it was much more of a kind of a somber movie, if you can believe that, without the music.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for coming to this, first of all. Second, karaoke last night. You guys were so wonderful. Everybody loved that. Thank you for doing it.
What karaoke?
My question, I'd like to hear everybody's kind of thoughts on this, but what's prompting my question is, Henry Thomas, you were in Gerald's Game, and I'd read the book. I knew that scene was going to be coming. It was difficult to watch. The character is very just icky. Like, I felt like I needed to take a shower after watching, your scenes.
Me too.
How you're good at that stuff.
He's got a few of those.
How do you all, as actors, when you have to play a character that is really just icky, for lack of a better word, how do you prepare for that? And then how do you, what techniques do you use to prepare and then wash it off at the end of the day?
That is a great question. And that was a particularly disgusting kind of person to inhabit for a while. At the end of the day, you're making a film and it's pretend, and everybody involved is, they've got your back, and you're in a safe place to pretend, supposedly, unless, of course, you get fired or something for being inappropriate, which could have happened easily, and
To you?
and has happened for many people. No, but recently in a production that I worked on, an actor was fired for being inappropriate with an actress, but it was within the context of a scene, and that was very confusing and kind of disturbing to me, because I think, and also to answer your question with this, I think that we're able to do a lot of the things that we're able to do because we feel safe in that environment. You can feel like you're working with people who you can trust and who are there to create something with you that is going to be good, and you can all be proud of. So you take these leaps and and in good faith. But personally, I think it can affect you. You know, playing that character affected me. I didn't feel comfortable with the scenes, and the actress that I was working with was a minor, and you know, I spoke with her mother, I spoke with her beforehand, even though there was nothing really physically that transpires between us in the scene. It's very emotionally disturbing and psychologically disturbing. And it was upsetting to her, I think, the actress, because you know, she was 14, and it's just, you know, you don't process these things in the same way. But again, I was working with people that I felt safe with, and I felt like this is good and it's going to be good for the project. I think if it's something that's just graphic for being graphic, then it's kind of redundant.
You can't play a bad guy. I mean, my limited experience acting, somewhat limited in movies, but in plays I've played, closest I did was a play where I played like a real racist kid in a play called Master Harold and the Boys. And I actually spit on a guy and, you know, refer to him as the N-word and everything. And it's a brilliant play. The play is addressing sort of South African racism. But you can't play that. You have to be just the guy you are raised by your parents to be, and that's your viewpoint. So you have to go full force with that. So then, like Henry's saying, if then your hands are behind your back and you're not allowed to make character choices because it might not be politically correct, then what are we going to do? It's like then you're just going to watch some sort of, you know, half-baked entertainment.
You know, when I did the part in 3 from Hell, I had the best time of my life.
What about the Frighteners? The Frighteners. I love that's my favorite role you've done.
The Frighteners.
My favorite role.
But, you know, Greta in 3 from Hell is just disgusting. She's just a disgusting character. And when Rob Zombie sent me the script, I wrote him back and I said, oh, I've got to play this part, Rob, but I have to look really bad. I don't want to wear any makeup, and I want to dye my hair brown, and I want horn-rimmed glasses. And there was like beep, 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 and the next email that came in said, okay. But she was sick. In every way you could look at her, she was sick. And my fun in playing those roles is just to get me out of the way. You know, we all have those dark places. We just have been trained not to allow them to come out or not to encourage them, you know? And the fun of an actor is that you're in a safe place to let them come out, as long as they don't take you over and go into your life, you know? And at the beginning of my career, it was much harder for me to leave Karen in the Howling, Donnie and Cujo. That was my toughest. That was my toughest. But, you know, then you learn. You start learning, oh, if I want to keep my health, I don't take this character home with me. If I want to keep my marriage, I don't take this character home with me. But for me, it's really exciting to get into those parts.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's the fun of it, right? Is and being able to shift to that, whatever that is.
Is there a question over there? Robin? Okay, does anybody have a question? All right, got one in front. Okay.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for showing up like everybody else said. To your point then, how do you feel when Spielberg went ahead and changed the movie, taking the guns out at the end and, you know, that recut? not to get political, but you know, you said you got to go to that
Look,
place.
times change, society changes. Stephen had a lot of children, right? From the time we did E.T. till he did that, and a lot of things have changed socially. I believe it's kind of a snapshot of our society, and I believe that Stephen was really trying to be gracious and correct as far as what he was putting out to the generation that was going to see it then. You know, I think the decisions were all coming from a positive place.
Yeah, I was excited by it because I had read in an interview one time where they asked Stephen what he regretted about E.T., and that's his baby. So I didn't think he was going to say anything, but he did say, I always regretted the use of the guns in the end of the film, and I had never thought about it before, and then I thought, yeah, what are they going to shoot him out of the sky? What are they going to, this guy in a shotgun, cocks a shotgun, and he's going to, so then when he actually had a meeting with us in early 2002, and it was shortly after 9/11, and he had been down to the site where 9/11 happened at Ground Zero, and he just said, you know, he was kind of outlining some of the stuff that he was going to do with the re-release, and he told us about the guns, and he told us, you know, not much else, but so I was excited to see it. And also I was excited because Henry had always told me about the scene that he filmed with E.T. in the bathtub, and you know, that it was a really funny scene and everything. And it was, and they brought it out again, but they went overboard, I think, with the changes. They tried to do too much with the CGI and like changing how E.T. ran, and it was like fiddling with it. But
yeah, they changed his expressions, which I didn't like.
Right.
Like suddenly he was like
much more animated with his face,
cartoonish.
But the real magic of E.T. is everything you see in that movie we saw on the set. Everything E.T. did, nothing was added after.
E.T. literally was another actor that we worked with.
Yeah, and it shows in the film. I think it shows in the, you know, and even with today's CGI, I don't think you can always make it look as real as it could be if you made it with, you know, real effects. And so that's why I think they backed off and changed it back, and they just swept and made all the changes. They just said, okay, we're just going to go to the original. I think, I don't know, but I agree with, I agreed with taking out the guns because I didn't think it was necessary in that film to have them.
He didn't want to put any more violence back out into society. And don't we wish everybody would choose to do that today? Thank you.
But it was made in a different time. It was made right after all the 70s cop shows and like, you know.
Yeah.
It was also
sort of like,
it was also right after 9/11, and
right.
it was like, you know.
The consciousness had changed.
Yeah. It was kind of cool in the early 80s to say, oh yeah, man, the FBI would shoot anybody.
What?
The CIA, they'll just take anybody. The kids, aliens, it doesn't matter. It's 82, we don't care.
The film he made before that, my wife and I, it's our favorite, Bianca, my wife Bianca McNaughton, who's here, but it's one of our favorite films, is the film he made right before that. It came out literally like right before 9/11. It was called AI. It's a beautiful film, and it's special. It's about, you know, it's very heartfelt, and I think it's the closest film of his to E.T. Because of the message and, you know, and so that was, I think, the place he was coming from when he did the changes to E.T. was he had just put out probably the closest film to E.T. of his.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, so we have a question right over there, and then we'll get yours next.
All right, I was just going to ask him about the stunts, the bicycles or any stunts that you were able to participate in that you enjoyed at the time?
KC did all the stunts for me and for Henry. He just had to take the headphones off.
Yes, yeah. No, I didn't. I mean, I was 10 at the time, and I couldn't even pedal the bike with the real ET in the basket because the ET was like 45 or 50 pounds, and I just couldn't physically do it. So they had to get a stunt double for a lot of those things for me.
There was a bicycle company called Kuwahara that did bikes, and they had a racing team, like a BMX racing team, and I think our stunt doubles were actually part of that Kuwahara racing team. So they let us do as much as they could, but for obvious reasons, some of the more dangerous stuff they couldn't let us do. So, you know, the stuff through the neighborhood and pedaling really quickly on flat ground, that was us. But jumping over cars and up, you know, sand dunes and things like that. I think one of our stunt doubles was even a female. I don't remember who had it, but she covered one of us.
Of course.
With a short hair wig, so.
And we'll never tell you which one.
Robert.
All right. Under me. No, but I did some scenes on the bikes, but it was frustrating because those bikes were made to do stunts. So those bikes were very light, and they were made to do like twirl the back pedals up in the air.
It's like BMX racing bikes.
Right.
Yeah.
So they had handbrakes, which most bikes of the time that I was used to riding, you would brake by pushing back on the pedals, so you could skid out and do stuff like that. And they're heavier. So when I first got on that bike, you know, it was terrifying because it's my first scene was going down the driveway, down, look for ET because he lost them, and you know. Anyway, so I'm going to look for ET, and I go down. I'm careening down this hill, and they had a cop stopping traffic down at the bottom of the hill. And I'm going, but I realize if I hit the brakes too hard, I'm going to go over the handlebars. So I'm kind of trying to ease the brakes at the same time. I'm got some speed going, and I flew right by that cop. And I remember him going like that, like because he was only stopping traffic up to that point, and then everything after that was regular cars. Yeah, so you know, they weren't the best bikes. Henry, I think, wiped out on one.
Yeah,
at the time.
I ate it going down a hill, and
because we weren't used to those kind of handle. Like, they were great bikes for doing tricks.
They were fine. It was you, Rob.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's the car.
okay,
that's
look,
the bike.
no. Okay, look, I'm left-handed. The handbrake was on the right, and so the first thing I did was go and then I ate it.
I fixed the brakes.
One hand.
I fixed the brakes on that.
Okay, we got time for one last question.
First, Henry, I want to thank you for doing the Elliot E.T. reunion commercial. Because
Thank you. I love that.
And then all of a sudden, I was back at the drive-in watching E.T. again.
I couldn't
crying
say
my
no.
ass out. And second of all, could you talk to us about filming the releasing the frog scene in the school lab?
Oh, yeah, that was actually in the beginning of the filming process.
It was the first day of film.
Whoa, really?
Yeah,
The
that
frogs
scene.
the first?
The school.
The school,
location was the
the
first day.
classroom.
I have the call sheets, and that was day one.
Oh, I'm not questioning.
I wasn't in that. I was the only guy
I
at
just
work.
thought, I don't know, I thought we shot in order.
Once we got to the sound stage, it was all in order.
I see.
But the first week was around the neighborhood,
See,
the outside stuff.
That's
Just
right, it was
think
all
of the
locations.
And the first day was the school.
Yeah, it was fun. There were a lot of frogs died that day. So, you know,
all right, Peter, where are you?
There was a lot of rehearsals, you know. Frogs had to die.
yeah, it's just you know, you're trying to walk through that minefield of frogs and kids. You know, it's just a matter of time.
It was, well, they changed it from, it was kittens.
Yeah, can't do that on film.
See what I had to put up with. You see,
By the way, if you want to talk about acting and characters and performance, try being a 10-year-old kid and having to kiss a girl and be cool about it in front of all of the crew. That's terrifying.
Oh my God.
Well, especially when she was like, she's 12 and she's about a foot taller than me. I did. Well, Stephen came up with the idea that I would stand on the kid's back to kiss the girl, But the funny thing about that whole thing was that I had worked it up in my mind, and it was one of the first days of filming. And I was really terrified to do that, and I had worked it up in my mind because Stephen had made me watch the John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara movie, The Quiet Man, to see that sequence, because E.T.'s watching it, and we have like some weird telepathic link, and I'm supposed to be mimicking what he's seeing, and vice versa. So I had worked it out, it was like a dance move. I was like, okay, slide her out, bring her back, stand on the kid, kiss the girl. It's gonna be perfect. And the first take, I'm, I get all the steps right, and I get up on the kid's back, and I almost headbutt Erica Leniak. I almost headbutt her, and our front teeth clash. And I just think, oh, I've ruined it. And then we just did two more takes, but we got it, and it wasn't so bad.
I remember Henry was so scared of doing that scene. We had like about a week of rehearsal before we started filming, and this was the thing he dreaded. This was like this was the scene that he dreaded that he was going to have to do.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about the crying stuff. I was like, oh, I can do that. The emotional stuff didn't tax me. It was the
kissing the girl.
It was I don't know, just the uncomfortable nature of being 10 years old. And
Has Henry Jr. kissed the whole girl?
Yeah. I'm not sure. He has a girlfriend, so maybe. If they play video games. No, don't ask.
So next time I watch that, all I think about is Hell Came Frogtown.
I think my first kiss was on set too.
Come on!
I don't even remember. I just know that it was a kiss, and then I will tell you that most young boys have no idea how to kiss, and maybe many of the grown men
All
that
young
were into that.
all young girls know that.
But when you're doing it in front of a room full of people and a crew, and it's being recorded, like that's just a gnarly thing for a little kid to be good at. And that's being saved for posterity. And if you've ever been insecure about anything, that's why I just brought it up to him, because I think I'm like getting my cathartic release through Henry having to do it too.
I gave Henry a hard time about it, and then like the following year, when E.T. came out, I did one other movie called I Am the Cheese, and my screen kiss, my first screen kiss, not my first real kiss, but my first screen kiss was with Cynthia Nixon, and I knew her really well because we were in the same theater company, so that was what made it okay. It was like we knew each other, we were already very familiar, Yeah, well, no, I think we're the same. I think we were the same age. Yeah, I was 14. Or I was actually 15 when I was doing I Am the Cheese, but I'd never done a screen kiss. That was the one, but it was okay because we knew each other so well, and it was like we were a little bit more, I guess, I don't know, professional. Yeah.
Yeah, but let me tell you, the weirdest love scene I ever had to shoot was with my husband. It's like your mother is sitting on the bottom of the bed. Because all the crew, it was just weird in Cujo, weird.
Oh my God, I love that scene in Cujo too. Oh, it just brought it back. No, I did. No, I loved it. It It was so great because it added so much emotional weight to the whole stuff that happens later. No, I really did. It is though. It's like
Oh, it's so weird.
it's great though.
You're supposed to fast forward through those scenes.
This is surreal. Okay, so
You see how close we all are.
let's give a round of applause for everyone.